Michele Crispo of MMA 24 Year, and today I'm with the UFC fighter Alex the Great White Morono. Alex, thanks for your time. It is an honor, a pleasure interview you. How are you?
Well, man, cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I'm feeling good. Going into week 2 of this 2-week-long fight camp, and feeling good, man. Feeling strong. I'm just super excited. This is such an awesome fight card to be on, and I never would have imagined, getting matched up with Pettis short notice on this fight, dude. So I'm taking this opportunity for everything it's worth, and I'm gonna really try to make a statement in a couple weeks.
Alex, how is the situation over there regarding the COVID-19?
You know what? It's still pretty dire. People are getting a little more used to it. And it's weird. Like, my gym is filled with younger people who are in very good shape. So we're not particularly susceptible to the dangers of COVID. So for us to shut our lifestyles and our income down, to me, makes no sense. I feel as if people who are higher risk should genuinely focus on quarantining and staying safe. And those who won't really be affected by it should go back to keeping the economy and everything going. Like, I've had several friends and even a couple training partners who have had COVID, and their symptoms were very mild. And as soon as they tested negative, they were right back into the training mix. And I'll tell you, and I know people have died from this, and of which I know it's serious, and they have my condolences. And anyone who is potentially affected by it should be cautious. But I just don't know what the end game is. I don't know what the goal is. Like, does everyone need to get it? Are people going to hide until there's a vaccine? I don't know. I'm not afraid. I don't think I've gotten it yet. But after this fight, I almost think it'll be a good thing to kind of let it run its course, at least through my household, and then move on. But I also don't know. But I mean, right now it's weird. This year has been terrible. But thankfully, the UFC has presented me with some amazing opportunities, and it's actually turned this dumpster fire of a year around. And I was really happy to have that Rhys McKee fight and win, and I am exceptionally happy and honored and ready for this fight on the 19th.
Alex, how started your passion for the MMA?
I was 17 years old. Not in the best of shape, maybe 16 years old, not in the best of shape, but I was a big UFC fan, a big fight fan. The first real exposure I had to MMA was I was at a friend's house, and we were playing poker, and his dad had ordered a pride fight. It was Mark Coleman versus Fedor. And we were playing cards, so we were in the gambling mood. And I bet on one of my friends, I bet that Mark Coleman would win the fight, knowing nothing about MMA. I was simply rooting for the American. Little do I know, Fedor is probably the best heavyweight to ever live, and beat Mark Coleman. And then I started to get a little more into the history. My dad was always into watching UFC fights, so anytime he'd get fights, I'd make sure to watch with them. And it just piqued some interest. One of my best friends was an amateur boxer. Another one of my good friends had started doing jiu-jitsu. So one year for Christmas, I was like, hey, parents, can I get a membership to a boxing gym? And thankfully, this boxing gym offered kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. So, as a very interested teenager, I started training and trained so much every day because I enjoyed it so much. And then started competing, and everything just kind of snowballed into, doing amateur kickboxing matches and jiu-jitsu tournaments, to doing amateur MMA, to winning an amateur belt, to going pro, fighting quite a bit as a local pro, and then winning the legacy belt. And then from there, going to the UFC. Never looked back since.
Alex, how did your nickname, the Great White, come about?
Cool, yeah. So I was in fight camp, and I was doing Saturday hard sparring with a bunch of gritty Mexican boxers, and none of them were in the best of shape. And we do a drill called the Shark Tank, where I get a fresh partner every round. But I was in really good shape, and I was and we were just boxing, so I was banging. And I was actually cycling through my training partners quicker than they could give me some rounds. And one of my boys, his name's Peanut. It's his fight name. I'm not too sure why, but he coined the term because I had my shirt off, and it was in the summer, so I had a pretty bad farmer's tan. So and I used to work for my dad doing labor work, so I would have sunburnt face, sunburnt arms, but a ghostly white body. And in the Shark Tank drill, being aggressive, pale as can be, I monikered the name the Great White. And like for fight names, it's kind of a thing. You can't really choose your own fight name. You have to kind of earn it. It has to happen organically. And that name kind of stuck. They used to call me Baby Fedor before that. And as much as I love Fedor, I don't like being called Baby anything. So I was much happier to take a better nickname.
This is crazy. Okay. Alex, first of all, I want to congratulate with you on your latest UFC win against Rhys McKee. What can you tell us about this fight?
About the Rhys fight?
Yeah.
Man, Rhys was cool. You know, he was young. I had watched almost all of his Cage Warrior title fights, and I knew he was a gamer. And he had one fight against this guy named Perry Goodwin. Granted, the guy was a 55er, but still, Perry was hitting him with some bombs. And my coach, my striking coach, you know, we were sitting in the hotel room in Vegas all week waiting for my fight. He's like, man, coach, this dude's got a good chin. You know, Rhys is big. He's tall. He had a big head on him. And I was like, yeah, coach, I'll be able to finish him with punches. And, dude, Rhys was tough and in shape and game. He kept coming forward. I expected him to be tough, and he was tougher than I expected. But man, I felt good. He had a really good jab, so I made sure to formulate a lot of my striking around the offense of his jab, and it paid off. So, like, our idea in that fight was, you know, if I'm able to outstrike him. But I knew there was a pretty big advantage I had in the grappling department. So if he was able to outstrike me, to look to pursue the wrestling and the grappling. But I didn't really have to do that. I felt very comfortable in that fight. And I was very proud because I set a new personal record in punches landed in a fight. I think it was like 205 punches. And I was happy with those stats.
The fight was surreal, especially for the scene of the mouth guard.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was something new to experience. I've seen thousands of fights. I've been to hundreds of fights. I've never really seen anything like that before. So, you know, we kind of just had to go with the flow and wait for them to correct a mistake and then get back to throwing down.
Alex, the next week you will be fighting a UFC veteran, Anthony Showtime Pettis. Are you happy about this fight?
Did you say, am I worried about the fight?
About the fight, the next fight against Anthony Pettis.
I mean, yeah. I'm very aware. One thing I do whenever I get a fight is I watch a lot of tape. And what's funny, I didn't need to watch any tape on Pettis. I've been watching tape on him for years because I was a fan. My teammate Carlos Diego Fierro fought him in January earlier this year. And I actually came into fight camp with CDF and mimicked Pettis. So, you know, I know the threats he presents. And it's my job, my responsibility to mitigate as much damage as possible and implement my game plan. You know, I'm very excited. I don't get nervous for fights anymore. I used to get kind of like angry and really fired up, like ready to die. But I've had to kind of tone down that mindset so I can make sure to make the most appropriate decisions in a fight. So my goal in this fight is to put on like a master class of a skill set for mixed martial arts and really test my striking at not a high level, but at the highest level against one of the best kickboxers in MMA. I am, again, excited is not the right word, as it does not encompass the emotion that comes along with it. But man, I am ready to rock and roll. And every time I think about the fight, it puts a big smile on my face. You know, I stay up at night just really excited about throwing down with Pettis. It's an honor and a privilege, and it's such a good opportunity to show these high-level guys what I'm about.
It is a big opportunity for you because it is a UFC veteran and a Hall of Famer of the UFC. You can call Anthony a Hall of Famer, and you deserve it. So, what do you think about this guy? Do you believe you can beat him and be superior to him in every phase of the fighting?
Yeah, of course. You know, he's a former champion. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, not yet, but he will be and he should be. But yeah, I would never, ever accept a fight if I was not certain I can win. You know, and, you know, of course, you know, I've not won every fight in my career, but like I'm willing to risk my life and bet my life that I would win these fights. So when you lose a fight, it's like your reality. It's like my reality is stripped from me. It's weird to like put into words, and it's not fun to experience. But again, like I'm taking this fight with every intention to win. And I am very much so like willing to give my life to take his. And if he's not willing to do the same thing, he's going to be in for a very, very uncomfortable fight. And that's my goal. Like, I know he's a veteran and he's seen some deep waters, but man, I live in the deep waters. I enjoy the hardship of the fights, and I want to make it as nasty and as uncomfortable as possible.
Alex, you have a record of 18 wins and 6 losses, is right?
Correct.
What was the best moment of your career, and which was the worst of your career?
You know what? That's a great question. I have kind of two standout moments for my favorite career opportunities. Obviously, my UFC debut was excellent. You know, I was a big underdog in that fight, and I won. And in that fight, a lot of people didn't know I had a torn ACL. My knee was like jacked. And I hadn't been able to train for a couple weeks prior because I had suffered a cut. I had like 11 days to prepare for that fight. And I was fighting a veteran in Kyle Noak. It was his 10th fight in the UFC. He was a 185er who had moved down from to welterweight, so he was big. I always joke, like, he had no business losing that fight. And in that fight, man, I did some damage. I remember breaking his nose with a right hand in the first round, and it really changed his attitude. And again, I hope to not sound disrespectful. I was a fan of Kyle Noak, and to this day have a lot of respect for that man. And again, was like very honored and proud of myself for accepting and winning that fight. But before the UFC, I had a main event legacy fight against Vladimir Arujo. They call him Baby Monster. He fought on the Black Zillions team. He was on the Ultimate Fighter show. And I got a knockout of the year, third round knockout against him. After losing the first 2 rounds pretty handily by like lay and pray, he was able to out wrestle and out grapple me pretty hard. And again, no excuses. The dude was certainly a better striker, a better grappler, and he was much stronger than I was. And my ACL was torn in that fight as well, so I really couldn't defend takedowns all that well. And thankfully in the third round, he kind of gassed, and I bombed him with a right hook that knocked him out brutally. And that honestly was probably the favorite part of my career because, you know, he had no fans. This is a local fight in Houston, and I had a lot of fans there. So during the first 2 rounds when he was winning on top, it was like dead quiet. And when I started cracking him with punches in the third and then finally knocked him out, the crowd just freaked out. And I went from like being tunnel visioned, focused in the fight, to knocking the guy out, to then finally hearing the crowd and just seeing all my friends and family and fans freaking out. The promoter McMaynard, I know, kind of was hyped up too. That was a really fun moment. One of my friends, who's a man, cried, and we still make fun of him for that. But man, it was a lot of fun. That was a great moment. Something I look back on and really enjoy.
Alex, about you after your next fight against Anthony Pettis, would you like to face someone in particular?
Yeah, you know, I've always been huge on only focusing on the fight that is in front of you. And yeah, so again, of course, naturally, Anthony Pettis is the only guy on my mind right now. All of my focus is going into winning this fight. But I mean, yeah, beating Pettis opens up the door for so many fights I didn't think I'd be able to get. I just did an interview before this one, and like, Anthony is like truly a former champion, OG veteran. You know, I would love a fight with like Cowboy Cerrone or like Nate Diaz. I mean, really just any of the OG UFC gangsters. Like, the fact that I'm in those conversations and the fact that I have the ability and opportunities to fight these guys blows my mind. So I'm not going to ask for any one person in particular, but really any one of the old school bangers or anyone in the top 15 would be awesome, man. Something I didn't think I'd be able to do, at least not yet.
Alex, final and hard question. What are the plans for the future for Alex Morono?
You know what? So I own and run a gym in Houston. It's the gym I've been at since I was a teenager. I was a student there. Then I was a coach there, and now I'm the head owner and head instructor. My wife and I run the gym. It's awesome. So coaching is always very important. We have some really cool things we're doing with the team. And then naturally, when I'm in fight camp and when my teammates have fights, I drive to Dallas, which is about 3 hours north of where I live. And I train with my guys at Fortis. And I plan on fighting, honestly, as long as I can. I want to retire in the UFC. My goal was 20 fights. I'm actually getting to 20 fights here pretty soon. So I'm going to make my new goal 30 fights. You know, I'm going to look to fight into my later 30s. And then I'll have to naturally adjust as my age and physical well-being matures. But I plan on fighting as long as I can in the UFC, and then coaching and training until I die of old age.
Alex, I know that you have an Italian origins, is right?
Yeah. My last name is Morono. If I'm not mistaken, my dad's side is 100% Italian. Like his mom and his dad, my grandparents who have passed since were from Italy. I think my grandma was from Sicily, and my grandfather was from a poor region in Italy near Sicily. And our family made stained glass windows, which was cool. We had done some ancestry reporting, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the syllables has changed. They had changed it when they had moved to America for whatever reason. But I've had people message me on Instagram saying like, "Hey, we have the same last name. There's not a lot of people with this last name." I think I had found like a link of my family that had lives in Spain, which was really cool. But yeah, my eldest brother, naturally kind of like the leader of the family, he's very proud of our Italian heritage. And he doesn't look like me. He's a little shorter, stockier. He's got like jet black hair, and he's a more aggressive guy. He's really cool. My dad's as Italian as they get. But yeah, man, I hope to visit Italy one day, and I'll probably even end up walking out to an Italian fight kit one day.
Alex, thanks for your time. It was an honor interview you. Do you have something to say to your fans and Italian fans?
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me, I'm not a big fan of social media, but I will post fight news. All of my stuff is pretty consistent. It's Alex Morono MMA, and man, I'm reading a lot of the messages people are posting online and the media. They're all saying I'm reliable for a fun, exciting fight, and that means the world to me. When I got signed with the UFC, my goal was to be an exciting fighter, and it's nice to hear the positive feedback. So fans, thank you for that. And again, I plan on being even more exciting than ever before, and I can't wait to go fight on the 19th.
Thank you, Alex. See you the next time.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Take it easy.